would make people like Nancy Pelosi nervous. I mean, really. And this is, when you think about it, this is exactly why we have the Second Amendment. It really is. It's as simple as that. I have a few quotes here. I actually didn't prepare a speech per se, but I wrote down a few quotes that are kind of interesting because they go back to the Founding Fathers, the people who actually wrote the Constitution and the Second Amendment, and some of their thoughts and the things that informed them. But I'll tell you, on a day like today, on a beautiful Saturday morning, how unbelievably blessed are we to live in the United States of America. I mean, really. This is, I don't care whether our president or anyone else wants to apologize for it, this is the greatest nation on earth. It absolutely is. It has been since the Constitution was written, since the battle for our independence was won, since the Founding Fathers set in motion this form of government. It still is today, but it's up to those of us assembled here and those of us around this state and those of us around this nation to realize that we could lose a hold of this. It's interesting, after the Constitutional Convention, a woman came up to Benjamin Franklin and asked him, "What form of government have you given us?" And he said, "We've given you a republic, if you can keep it." Many of you are familiar with that. It's sad to me how many of our fellow citizens are not. And we are on the cusp of losing our grip on this republic. Many of you know who I am, some of you may not. I am running for U.S. Senate. I'm running against a guy you might have heard of, Mitch something. And I tell you, there's a number of people who think it is time for him to go, but I'm running against Mitch McConnell. He's our current senator. But I think on many fronts, including why we're gathered here today, he has not represented us necessarily the way we would have liked him to. And it's interesting, if you look at his votes, he likes to brag about how he's got a good score here, there, or everywhere. But if you look at the fact, he's been there 28 and a half years now, coming up on 29 and going on 30 before this term. This term will be done. He sided with Barbara Boxer when she decided that no guns should be sold or transferred without security, without a safety lock or encased in some kind of a secured container. He voted with her on that. He sided with Joe Biden, who decided that the government needs to decide what type of assault-style weapons we should own, some of which I can see assembled before me, which is awesome. You know, I mean, as a guy who pretends to be a defender of the Constitution of the Second Amendment, I'm a little concerned by the number of times Mitch McConnell has been willing to throw the Second Amendment under the bus. And I think the way it's written is pretty clear, as was just read to us. Shall not be infringed. It's pretty straightforward. And you look at the reasons why it was put in place. It was put in place so that we, the people, would have protection from a tyrannical government. And it's interesting because people like to talk about tyranny like it's some quaint 18th century word. Oh, that was then. That's crazy. That was a long time ago. Baloney. People don't think tyranny is alive and well. Take a look at places like Egypt right now. Take a look at places like Syria. Most of us in this assemblage right here were around 25 years ago. 25 years ago, in a very arguably civilized and sophisticated part of the world, in Germany, you had people living on the unfree side under tyranny, trying to sneak through the darkness and through the woods, past guard towers, past dogs, past barbed wire, with their families, trying to avoid being killed so they could get to the side of their country that was free. And if we think that is not possible, then we are not students of history. If we think that is not possible, then we are delusional. And it is imperative, it is incumbent upon those of us who respect and value the Constitution to uphold and defend it. I'm a former Army officer. And when I took my oath as an Army officer, I pledged to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That term domestic isn't in there by accident. Our founding fathers knew exactly where the threats were likely to come from. And they are as likely to come from external sources as from internal sources. I'm married. I have 9 children. A lot of people find that a little shocking. My children, for those of you who are wondering, are 14, 13, 13, 11, 11, 8, 8, 6, and 3. 4 of them are adopted. We have one actual set of biological twins. They're the 13-year-olds. But I look at the America that I have been blessed with. I look at the American dream that I have been able to attain. And I look at the rights that have been given to us in our Constitution. And I look at how blessed we have been, all of us, to be in a country where we can pursue the American dream. And I worry for the next generations. I worry that we will lose our grip on this republic. I worry that they may not have the same opportunities that we have had. I'll read you just a couple of things that I think are kind of interesting, and then I'll close. Although I'm happy to take any questions that you all have. You know, I'll be around a little while after others speak as well. But Patrick Henry in 1778, and you can appreciate a little of the sarcasm in here as he writes, he wrote, "Oh, sir, we should have fine times indeed, if to punish tyrants it were only sufficient to just assemble the people. Your arms were with you, could defend yourselves, are gone, and you have no longer an aristocratical, nor longer a democratical spirit. Did you ever read of any revolution in a nation brought about by the punishment of those in power, inflicted by those who had no power at all?" The reality is, you haven't. Noah Webster noted that before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every kingdom of Europe. These are the guys who framed our government. They knew that disarming we the people was exactly what would allow somebody who maybe started with good intent to just one step at a time encroach upon our liberties. And at the end of the day, we are blessed and we are exceptional, not because we're better than anybody anywhere else as individuals. People are people are people. I've been to 40-some countries around the world, and I've seen people who live under liberty, and I've seen people who don't. People are people. What makes us exceptional is that we value these liberties. We protect these liberties. We have a government and a constitution and a democratically elected republic that protects these liberties. This is what makes us exceptional. I would ask for your consideration for your vote. I will tell you this, I'm not a perfect man. There is no perfect man or woman that will ever put themselves forward to be a representative for you. But I understand the principles upon which this nation was founded, and I will not just give lip service to them and throw them under the bus when I think no one is looking or when some corporate interest is willing to grease my pockets to do so. I will fight in the exact same way that I took the oath to do as a military officer, to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, exactly as written, every single day that I'm your U.S. Senator. Thank you so much for your consideration.